Hey guys, what is happening? AnimetalViking here, and welcome back to another episode of Discography Rewind. And I am going to be continuing with my review of Carnifex Discography. If you couldn't tell by now, I am a huge fan of this band. This band is without a doubt my absolute favorite within the deathcore subgenre. They've really proven themselves. They really stand out from the rest of the bands in the genre, and I do hope you guys are enjoying these reviews as much as I'm enjoying doing them. So without further delay, let us jump right into the reviews. Okay, so firstly, I'd like to point out that this is the fourth album released by them, and based on discussions with other metalheads, what I've seen on websites like the Metal Archives and various other reviews I've seen on YouTube, this album is pretty popular with a lot of black metal fans, and it's also been praised by vocalists from the new generation of deathcore bands like Ben Durr of Shadow of Intent as probably the biggest breakthrough, their greatest masterpiece, something to that degree. I don't agree that it's that it's their best or masterpiece. However, it is a very important album in developing what we know Carnifex sound to be today, with the albums like Die Without Hope and Slow Death. Okay, so the album is basically black metal but with deathcore breakdowns and guttural vocals, and the production for this record, it feels similar to a mix of Behemoth and Belphegor's polished black metal, blackened death metal sound, with a bit of the raw tone of bands like Vapori, Gorgoroth, and Burzum. There are a lot of subtle keyboard elements on this album that add a slight haunting atmosphere to the songs, which is really cool and is a totally different thing for this band to do, because the only band from the first wave of deathcore that was doing keyboards at the time was Winds of Plague, and even then they rely on it so much that the term symphonic deathcore had to be coined for them. So but here on this album it's used subtly, like just as a background element. It's not in the forefront so much, and but it is still used to a decent effect throughout the course of the album. And just like with their third album, Scott's black metal styled screams take the forefront in the majority of the tracks. And his guttural death metal and deathcore vocals have definitely improved. While they improved between the release of the previous record, Hell Chose Me, and this album, and it definitely gives the black metal sound and feel of this album a sense of weight and gravitas behind it. You also another thing I'd like to I'm losing my words today. Another thing I'd like to point out is is songs like Creation Defaced. They add a lot of these songs like this one add a lot of calmer and more atmospheric elements as breaks between the speed, aggression, and insanity of the song, and it is something that most deathcore bands never actually do. Like, there's actually a part in this song where where all the distortion and everything gets, and the heavy guitar riffing and stuff just stops, and then you just have this very muffled, synthy, haunting, eerie sounding atmospheric part, this instrumental part that's just serves as this perfect break, and really it paints this this haunting soundscape that builds up as it goes along before it you get hit in the face straight back with the brutality, and it really is something that you do not see happening in deathcore a lot. Most deathcore songs tend to just be the same formula, the same thing, and you know what to expect, you know what you're getting into. So yeah, this album, it definitely shows a lot of experimentation and progression to it. Yeah, this album, it stands out from its other deathcore peers in the sense that Carnifex, they focused more on solid guitar work and strong riffs, and instead of just breakdowns only. The breakdowns are used only when necessary, and this has now become a staple element of their music, which can also be heard on the two albums that succeeded it, which are Die Without Hope and Slow Death. This method of songwriting allows the breakdowns to have a lot more clout, and they actually feel welcoming instead of polarizing or just bland. And the riffs, they are mostly fast, yet they are also melodic. Also, the tremolo picking riffs are used in all the right places at exactly the right time, and they often serve as great build-ups to breakdowns or transitions to different riffs that have a slightly different tempo to them. So the only pitfall I'd say this album is that it's very short, only 32 minutes in length. But considering the patience most non-deathcore fans have for deathcore, it manages to deliver an amazing experience, but it doesn't overstay its welcome. So that's a plus in that regard, and that's maybe possibly why this album is so popular with black metal fans, is because even though it's got deathcore elements, and some of them sites the songs sometimes come in danger of being a bit repetitive. The fact that the album is very brief and very short, it makes it listenable for them, and I think that's a good thing. I personally would have liked it to be slightly longer, maybe at about 40 something minutes, but it's still a great album, and it's a great album to jam to, like, if you're in the car or something and you're just on a short trip up the road or something like that. So yeah, it's a fantastic album. And also it's a great way to introduce non-deathcore fans to the deathcore genre, especially if they want to keep one foot in the familiar realm of death metal or black metal. And with all that being said, I'd have to give this particular album a 7 out of 10. I don't think this album is as great as Hell Chose Me, because Hell Chose Me, as I mentioned in that review, Hell Chose Me is the perfect mix of deathcore, melodic death metal, thrash metal, and black metal, and it manages to present all those different ideas in a more technical fashion, whereas this album just takes black metal and deathcore and smacks them together, which I've got no problem with. And this is a fantastic album, which you can tell from my score, and I recommend that you check it out. And it's a great way to introduce non-deathcore fans to the deathcore genre, as I just said. But in my personal opinion, I don't think this album is anywhere near Hell Chose Me, the technicality and the genius songwriting of Hell Chose Me. So yeah, but other than that, it's a great album. It's fantastic. It's a strong album, and it's short time duration means that it's easy to digest and is And the fact that there's quite a bit of experimentation on here, it's a very welcome thing. And the final thing I'd like to add is that this album, even though it's basically just black metal with deathcore breakdowns and vocals, you can tell upon multiple listens to this record, provided you've listened to the 2 albums that succeeded it. If you listen to this album long enough, you will be able to immediately pick up that this album was, this album was the moment of truth for Carnifex. The moment of truth, because the band went on a short hiatus after this album was released. So there was some uncertainty to what was going to happen to the band, and if you listen to this, you can tell that big things were happening. Big things were happening, and we would be getting the Carnifex that we know and that we love today. So yeah, guys, that concludes this review for Until I Feel Nothing by Carnifex. What are your thoughts on this album? Is this your favorite? And if you're a fan of black metal and you have listened to this album before, I want to know what your thoughts are on this. Do you think this album shows a lot of potential? Do you think it uses the black metal elements in a good way, in a bad way, or is it just okay? Let me know in the comments below. I'm interested to know your thoughts. And to the deathcore fans, you can let me know whether this is your favorite Carnifex album or not. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel. If you are new here, you can follow me on social media. Links as always in the description box below. And if you'd like to help me improve the quality of my content, you can consider donating to my Patreon. And that pretty much concludes it. So thank you so much for listening, guys. And until the next episode of Discography Rewind, take care of yourselves, and as always, have a kick-ass day. Cheers.